Shepard Smith, I don't understand why this excites people. I get that relative to Fox, he occasionally says some, frankly, just obvious things. But, I guess in today's world, we should take obvious where we get it. And here he is saying that, yes, in fact, according to every single standard we have, legally, ethical, and otherwise, waterboarding is torture.
Under dispute, and others have said they got false information as a result. The former undercover agent faced tough questions about her role in a CIA black site in Thailand, where interrogators used waterboarding and other torture methods following the attacks of 9/11. Lawmakers also grilled Gina Haspel about her knowledge of why the CIA shredded dozens of videotapes showing agents using torture. Haspel said the recording showed the faces of undercover spies, and that put their lives at risk. A lot of details about the CIA's now outlawed interrogation program remain classified. Waterboarding is torture and is not permitted under Army Field Manual guidelines. Torture is illegal under international law. The Supreme Court noted in 2004 that the United States has a historical record of regarding waterboarding as a war crime and has prosecuted individuals for such practice in the past. Our chief intelligence correspondent,
Well, there you have it. And of course it is absolutely torture. Gina Haspel absolutely was complicit in both the torture program and in covering it up. And she will be the next CIA chief.
He doesn't even go so far. He doesn't even go so far as to say that it's morally reprehensible to torture someone. No. He says that it is illegal under the DoD Army Field Guide, and that's their line.
And by the way,
that was her line too.
It was absolutely her line too. Although she still framed it as we're making an ethical choice, which we're not legally bound by, which is an important distinction to make. But I don't. I'm not a big. I don't think international law is going to save us. And international law is something that obviously is always negotiated and mediated by power. And therefore it's always going to be, selectively applied and enforced, which is not to say that obviously there isn't some very important things in establishing global norms and banning certain practices. But ultimately, this is a great example of that. Like, yes, it's illegal. And the United States has the power to say, so what? And the Bush administration did that. And then the Obama administration and the full, broader, bipartisan American establishment basically said that with regards to torture, just as with regards to Wall Street and the financial crisis, if you're powerful, if you're connected, if you're wealthy, you don't go to jail for breaking laws and engaging in obscene conduct. And I think even, people should include waterboarding and go far beyond it, and they should go into how lethal and disgusting the actual practice is. Also, actionable intelligence is a second-order conversation. It's an absolutely worthy thing to talk about and contrast the results of the FBI methods with the CIA methods, which with regards to collecting intelligence. There was actual security threats, obviously, that come out of groups like Al-Qaeda, and terrorism is a real thing. But as a standalone segment and argument, and props to Shep Smith for doing that on Fox, I'm sure he gets, a ton of death threats for even that. But actionable intelligence or not is not why we don't torture. It is a innately unacceptable thing according to any type of norm, whether group rights, human rights, international norms, basic ethics, whatever we want to establish. And the second order flows from that are not the question.
There's basically two constituencies for these Shepard Smith speaks the truth things that happen periodically, and I think probably the most important one is the people in the newsroom, because I've come across just normal people that happen to work at Fox News.
Don't out them.
Right? That's their job after they graduate from journalism school.
Right. They're just normal a lot of them are kind of normal, young, liberally New Yorkers.
Yeah, and so Shepard Smith gets to go on there and be like, well, at least, we have this going on. And also there's a certain type of viewer who isn't very plugged in, who kind of can sense something's wrong, but also still is firmly committed to there being good people on both sides.
Right.
They see somebody like Jeff Flake and Shep Smith doing it. It's like, okay, we still got some guys on this side. I'm going to remain on this side.
Right. And then Jeff Flake is disgusting and should not be given any credit. Shep Smith, I would not put in that category, but I think the impulse behind it is the same thing.
They're pressure release valves. Basically.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think that the only person in the Republican Senate right now that said he would not vote for and confirmed Gina Haspel is dying of brain cancer on his deathbed.
Right.
That's the moral standing of the GOP right now.
Right. And he's
a man who was tortured.
Yeah, of course he won't vote for his brain cancer. Personally, I prefer senators who vote for torturers and don't have brain cancer, but that's just me.
I'd ask what's wrong, but we all know.
I mean, if you want to get a good idea...
Oh, wait, you don't want me at your funeral? What's the matter with you, John? Totally non-civil.
I think that if you want to get a good idea of where the GOP really stands and what Gina Haspel really stands for is watch Tom Cotton's section of...
Do we have that?
Of the intel. Yeah, I put it. It's in the Slack.
I don't see it. Let's play that, actually. I think
that'll give you a good impression.
All right, do we have that? Sounds illustrative. Tom Cotton is somebody who I think is a little too weird and awkward for national stage, but he was somebody like, if Trump was not elected, he would be at the heart of any talk of a 2020 candidacy. Tom Cotton, traditional Koch brother, far right neocon, but he actually anticipated and adjusted his rhetoric to be even more, racist and nativist with the rise of Trump. So, a bit odd, not much charisma, but definitely someone who is shrewd and knows how to work the Republican Party. So here he is. With Gina Haspel, and I agree with Brendan. I think that this is the Republican view here.
Thank you, Mrs. Haspel, for your many decades of service to our country and for taking on this new role despite the accusations, entirely false, that you would face from some of my colleagues in the Senate and from the media, some of these protesters we've seen here today. I'm very grateful to you, as I know that all the men and women of the CIA are grateful. I have to clear up some of the things that have been said here before. Senator Warner said that he worried about the message we would be sending if we confirmed you to the director of CIA. Well, let's look at that from the other direction. What message would we be sending if we didn't confirm you to the CIA, to the men and women of the CIA, to the GS-15s who may be asked to take on a controversial position that a future administration with new lawyers might not like? And for that matter, what message does overwhelming Democratic opposition to your nomination send? In fact, if you had been nominated by President Obama, or if Hillary Clinton had won and nominated you to be the CIA director, how many votes do you think you would have gotten to be confirmed as CIA director? You don't have to answer.
It's not that funny, but he is able to definitely exploit a weakness there, and that goes back to John Brennan, president who eventually did become President Obama's CIA director, and Brennan, of course, and Leon Panetta, and a lot of other sort of Democratic foreign policy grand poobahs have actually endorsed Haspel, and of course, in Brennan's case, he was not nearly at the level of Haspel, but he was absolutely involved and complicit with the torture regime as well. And of course, the choice to not crack down on, expose that program, clean house, and hold people legally accountable absolutely opens the door for that sort of, smirk kind of, sort of overly self-consciously clever comment there. But he is right. There probably would be a very different political calculus if a Democratic president had nominated her. And it's actually terrifying to even think that while it is very unlikely, it is possible that would happen. But the broader point there, obviously, when he says uses euphemisms like controversial, remember, he's talking about torturing people and sending people overseas to be tortured at even more severe and lethal levels. And I have no doubt that there's things even in the programs that we probably still don't know to this day in terms of potential homicides and everything else. So, that's a overtly pro-torture position and a political jujitsu which was facilitated by Democratic cowardice on an issue that is absolutely fundamental.